Welcome into KSL Sports Rewind. Dusty Lister, Dane Stewart, getting you ready for the state tournaments. But before we do that, as always, brought to you by Heidemann and Associates.
Yeah, that's right. Just a reminder, Heidemann Associates, a full-service law firm with locations throughout the state of Utah. They can even meet with you online if that works best for you. For a free consultation, just tell them Rewind sent you when you call 801-754-4240.
And don't worry, bumps in the road, Justin's there to take care of you. If you have bumps in the road, if you have a bump in the road in your education, you just want to get better, Western Governors University, we've talked about it from the beginning of the year, 2022, the year of you, but now making even more about you. Get your one-year MBA through Western Governors University. Go to wgu.edu. Get it on your own time, at your own pace, again, at Western Governors University. Hey, look, we've done a 6A video, 5A. Here we are, folks. We're not missing anything. Here's the 4A video, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. You're not being missed. We talk about best of the rest. Well, we got them all for you right here. Let's take a look first at the 4A RPI. Dane, when we look at 4A, we thought that Crimson Cliffs would be the number one team in the RPI, and they are. You know, Desert Hills, Dixie, Ridgeline, Snow Canyon, even at the finish of the year, could not jump some of the teams they beat down the stretch.
Yeah, kind of surprising, Dusty, but you look at the opponent's winning percentage, that's what really hurt them in terms of the calculation. But you're right. I mean, Desert Hills coming in 2, Dixie 3. Sometimes we talk about the math, right? And sometimes those head-to-heads don't matter quite as much when you get into the math side of things, and that's how it played out here in 4A.
Yeah, we'll have our bracketology on this one. Any matchup on the 4A bracket that intrigues you the most?
Just looking at it, Dusty, I think a Ridgeline, potential Snow Canyon second-round matchup could be interesting. That'd be a 4-5 matchup. You talk about Snow Canyon coming in with a lot of momentum. That could be an interesting one. How about Skyview taking on Desert Hills in the second round? That could be a sneaky game for Desert Hills. That Skyview team's been really impressive this year. So that could be an interesting one. And how about Mountain Crest? Mountain Crest Dixie second round would be awesome as well. The Mustangs,
right.
In our polls this year where we were doing our top 25, the Stangs got some votes. So there's some respect there of Mountain Crest amongst people who really understand high school football. And look, they could be poised to put together a bit of a sneaky run here in 4A. It's a pretty wide open bracket.
It really is. And I think that middle part, Snow Canyon, Green Canyon going into Ridgeline, I mean, that's kind of a sneaky potential. I mean, we'll just have a bunch of good quarterfinal games that week, but it's a pretty decent one to be like, maybe we take a look at that one. Kind of fun. I'll tell you, the first round game that intrigues me is Cedar Logan. That game, first of all, the colors are the exact same. But I think that game alone is going to be just really close. I'm not saying any one of those makes a run, but I think that's a game that will be close and tight just because that's the way both those schools play. Yeah.
Logan got off to a great start this year, too. They're going to try to maintain that momentum through.
So let's take a look at 3A because we've kind of said, well, I think everything's right. Everything looks right. How about 3A? The number one overall seed in the RPI, Juab. Juab gets the number one overall seed in 3A. Kind of shocking, at least both of us. Rural Utah Sports on Twitter. I hadn't seen his outcry. Maybe I missed it on this. It's a little busy Saturday. Interesting to see that kind of shake itself out.
I call foul, sir. Just TV show line there. I was shocked, Dusty. And not just shocked, but the separation. I mean, you're talking 3/100ths of a point. That surprised me. You look at this Morgan group. I mean, they both went undefeated, right? Morgan has a win over Grantsville. That's the number 3 ranked team in 3A. Juab did not play Grantsville. To me, I was just surprised at that Juab came away that much with that much separation. I think, when I did Morgan Grantsville, it was like, those are the 3 best teams. You can kind of pick your order. And then Morgan beats Grantsville. And so in my mind, it's like Morgan's 1, Juab's 2, Grantsville's 3. And the fact that Grantsville had that much separation, 1/2 of Morgan, that's what surprised me the most. But, they both played upper classification teams from 3A. They both ran their region schedules. It'll be interesting to see if we get those 2 in a state championship, but I was surprised that it was 0.71 compared to 0.68.
Right. Well, and here's what it did too. Here's the interesting part of it is it put Morgan and Grantsville in the same bracket, right? They got to play they got to play into each other in the semifinal where Juab gets Canyon View, who they played earlier in the year and took care of comfortably. I wouldn't say handily, but comfortably. Be very interesting. By the way, congratulations to Canyon View earning a bye in 3A. I don't know that's ever happened for them. So congratulations to the Falcons. Where that program was a couple years ago. We got to hear messages and everything else, some of the turmoil and stuff. But see what this program is today from where it was a couple years ago. I mean, congratulations to the Falcons.
You ready for this note on Canyon View? 7 wins this year. It's the most regular season wins they've ever had. They had 6 wins this year. That ties the most since 2000. If they get to 7, which a playoff win would do, it'd be the most. No, I just messed that up again. I'm sorry. We're going to get this right, folks. Canyon View hit 7 wins this year. It's the most in a regular season ever. They've won 7 games before. That was back in the 2000 season when they went 6-3 in the regular season. They had a playoff win. 7 regular season wins is the most in program history. What a job. Congratulations to the Falcons on a great year.
For a team that plays East and West, they're only heading north. Like that?
Hey, look at that, huh?
But if you didn't know, they're one of – good.
Go ahead.
I was say if you didn't know, there's only like 4 schools that run East and West that we're aware of. Canyon View, Roy, because Vince Francis knows I always missed that one, Brighton, and then I'm blanking on the other one. Either way, so one of the few teams that run East and West fields.
Hey, can I tell you, you want to talk about RPI and tough matchups? So Juab gets the number 1 seed. Congratulations. They could have to take on Manti in the quarters, a game in which they played in week 10. And this was crazy, Dusty, because the difference – oh, man, Greg Sterner, I don't even know if I dare mention this. The difference was PATs. Manti went 1 of 3 on point after tries, 0 for 3 on 2-point tries. They lost by 4, 41-37. The difference was point afters. They went toe-to-toe with Juab, and that could be our quarterfinal matchup. Juab, Manti in the quarters could be a tough contest for Juab early on in the 3A state playoff.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And Manti will take on Ogden, Coach Eric Thompson. Can't say enough good things. Get a win against Ben Lowman in the regular season finale. And as I mentioned on Red Zone, any win for Coach Eric Thompson is a win for all of us. And this means so much. Coach battling ALS, as Dane knows, and Vince, our team. My mother dying from ALS just means a lot to me. Anytime you see Coach Thompson win, it just it hits a certain spot. So congratulations to he and the Tigers. Richfield plays Carbon. Here's a fun note. If Carbon were to win that game somehow, some way, Canyon View's first ever playoff game was in the first year of their school's history against Carbon at Canyon View. So, and the starting quarterback of that game was J.D. Jorgensen, Jan Jorgensen's less talented, better-looking older brother. But just couldn't quite get it done that night either. So, but really, really interesting. But when you take a look at this bracket, Dane, it really sets up. I mean, this isn't meant in any knock or any way, shape, or form. The teams with the byes, it really feels like that's the tournament in 3A. Outside of Manti, I think Manti can be the fine movement, but it feels that way.
The only thing I would add with Ogden, and look, you talk about Coach Thompson, great man, great coach, love the culture he's built there at Ogden. Dusty, they had 6 turnovers in a rivalry game against Ben Lowman, and they still got the W. They ran for 260 yards. Chino Furness and company, that offense mauled. And if they can control the clock like that, they could be a problem, right? Now, they got to play some of their best ball of the year. You can't have 6 turnovers in the playoffs to come away with a dub. Right. But if they can run the ball like that, they could be a little mud in the wheel type of group this year in 3A. But to your point, I think Manti is really interesting. They've lost some close ball games, and they've played really competitive football with some of the top-end teams. Juab, Morgan, Grantsville. I think most people think those are the 3 teams to beat. And you get a Morgan-Grantsville rematch in Windy Cedar City in the semifinal. That could be interesting. Grantsville going to come in with a lot of pent-up angst and revenge on their minds. And look, can the physicality of Morgan and the way that they spread you out, will that be able to kind of last itself over the course of a state playoff run? That could be a heck of a semifinal with, of course, Juab if they can get through traffic waiting on the other end in what could be potentially matchup of undefeateds here in 3A when it's all said and done.
You know, it's interesting. You get to the semifinal, the team with the advantage is Canyon View. They'd be the only team sleeping in their own beds at the semifinal because everybody else is going to take the bus ride down. Grantsville and Morgan, neither one of them sleeping in their beds the night before that semifinal game. They're the only ones to be sleeping in their own beds. Even in the championship, they were making the championship game because it's just 40 minutes away. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good note, man. And, you know, you take high school kids on the road, and Dusty, you know this. Sometimes those road trips.
All too well.
Stories.
All too well. Be very, very interesting. Speaking of road trips, let's take a look at the 2A bracket. And we'll see. So here's your buys. South Summit, San Juan. Let's see. The 3 seed. Let's see where that one is. And Beaver, number 4. Just joking, Emory. Emory's the 3 seed, and they get a bye. Treg Miller, his mom is a dino. Once a dino, always a dino. And they're led by Stilson. But this 2A, they got it right because San Juan and the South Summit get away from each other to find out who's going to get to the 2A state championship.
Yeah, look, I actually think this one could be really interesting, Dusty. You could have Beaver South Summit in the semifinal. That would be a really fun ball game, right? Yeah. And look, it's got to do Dusty's heart well to see 2016 Dusty going up against 2022 Dusty here in 2A. South Summit, San Juan, I think the two favorites. I think there's a fair amount of separation after those two, right? Yeah, there's Beaver and there's Summit Academy and there's Emory. There's a lot of teams there. But, man, it feels like South Summit and San Juan have just been playing at another level this year. Can they maintain that through the playoffs? Any given Friday night, man, you never know what's going to happen.
No, Parker Snyder, all he did to close out the year is 6 touchdown passes. I mean,
yeah,
San Juan has played really, really out. Little Sierra Nielsen's very pleased with her Broncos when they finish the year. I've completed every video this far, making sure you get a shout out to Sierra, by the way, my great niece. All right, let's go to 1A. I mean, this is interesting when you look at this the 1A bracket. We're not going to go into 8 players because there hasn't been a lot of information to get out there. But we both picked Layton Christian to win 1A. Enterprise goes to the bottom at number 2. Very intriguing to what we'll see going into this because Layton Christian and Parowan, I mean, just interesting. But the collision course for LCA and Enterprise is pretty well laid out.
I don't know.
No?
Here's the thing, right? So let's start with the first round game. How about Kanab Duchesne in a first round matchup? 6-3. Look, only 8 teams making the state tournament here in 1A, but that was a 1 possession game in the regular season. If a Kanab got a second opportunity at an Enterprise, does Kanab have something for him there? That was a 1 possession game as well. I don't want to throw Enterprise and say I don't believe in Enterprise because that's not true. But I do think there are some teams in this bracket that could maybe make this interesting, or that and especially when you look at a team that's like a Kanab, because they've played a lot of close games, won a lot of close games, and a lot of the games they've lost have been close, and so they've shown they can compete with those teams. I'm going to throw Kanab into that ring as well. Okay. Layton Christian, Enterprise, Kanab. They're the top 3 seeds in this classification. I think that Kanab Enterprise game has fun written all over it. And, I think Layton Christian has been the best team. We'll see if they can go and capture that state championship. But I'm not ready to ride off Kanab. And I know you aren't either. You're not writing them off. But I think that Kanab Enterprise game could be interesting if that's the matchup.
Just really feel like Enterprise has played great football down the stretch. They've gotten better since that Kanab game. Now, granted, Kanab had to play LCA shortly thereafter, licking their wounds a little bit there. Yeah. But Griffin Bone never, ever got my shirt. I love it. We'll pound the Cowboy love and Little Hollywood.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Just note about Kanab. They lost to Layton Christian. They've scored over 45 points every week since.
Yeah.
So I think that's a team that scary matchup. That Kanab Enterprise game could be really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we hope we got you good and ready for the state tournaments because, we've got them all coming. Come Friday, Dane's got his game of the week. We've got games. We're going to be streaming all over the place. The state will happen as well. We'll wait and see the kickoffs. We could be having Red Zone, myself and Jeff Hansen. Will be streamed right here on KSLSports.com. Of all the kick times, we'll hold at 6 p.m. Coaches, if you're watching this, if you hold your kick times at 6 p.m., we can do all kinds of fun stuff with our coverage. We had that staggered thing, 3, 6, 7, whatever. We can do all kinds of fun stuff. But this could be an absolute blast. Congratulations to all the teams who made the state tournament. Absolutely looking forward to it. Dane, your final thoughts before we send it into week 2.
Should be fun, man. Look, there's always a team in this first round that comes out and shocks someone. So who's it going to be? We'll find out next week. But there's always something in the first week that's like, oh, man, did not see that one coming. You know it's coming this year. And we'll find out Friday night who that's going to be.
State tournament is here, and we are so excited for it. By the way, look out. We got soccer coverage as well on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. All kinds of crazy stuff as Alex Napolis is going to be holding that down for us here on KSL Sports Rewind. But for Vince Francis and Dane Stewart, I'm Dusty Lister. Thanks for joining us and for watching KSL Sports Rewind on KSLSports.com.